Hi, I'm Marissa. I just wanted to let you know how I have been dealing with my Crohn's disease since I first started having symptoms. In, I think it was like June or July of 2010, I was getting off my period and I had like really bad diarrhea and cramps. I just thought it was my period, I didn't think anything of it. So a couple weeks later, I was still having the same cramps and diarrhea and all those problems. So I just kind of kept to myself because I thought it was embarrassing to tell anyone, and I just didn't want anyone to think I was weird. Didn't tell my best friend or any of my closest friends. Just kept to myself, and I'm like, hey, I'll get over this. It's all good. It's just like a virus or something. And it continued to happen sporadically. Like one week I'd be fine, the next it'd be having the same problems again. And then still didn't tell anyone, and just worked it out and waited it out. And then I finally told my parents probably in December because it was still going on and the pains were just getting worse. And they're like, "Oh, your brothers are sick. It's probably the bugs." I'm like, "Okay, I don't think that's what it is, but I'm just gonna bite my tongue because you're probably not gonna believe me anyway." So I went to the doctors like before school started, June, back up of my, I think it'd be my sophomore junior year, and I did that. And I went to the doctor and I told him I've been having cramping and stuff, and he said it was probably a bug or like stomach cramping. I'm like, okay, no one's helping me here. So I just waited it out. And then July of 2011, we went to, on a vacation to Lake Erie, and I was out playing with my family out by the lake, and all of a sudden I had to go to the bathroom like really bad. So I went to go to the bathroom, and it was across the room, and didn't make it in time. So that was eventful, and had to clean myself up as best I could before we got back to the hotel room. So that was peachy. And then finally, I told my parents again that, hey, this isn't working. I need to figure this out. So when we got back, I made a doctor's appointment with my pediatrician, and he gave me hyoscyamine for stomach cramping, and I practically lived off of that for like a year. And then still had the bloating, still had problems, still had cramping. It just kept getting worse and worse and worse. I'd be nauseous all the time, I'd be tired all the time. All I'd want to do is sleep, wouldn't want to go to school, and I was just a mess. So it goes to 2012, and I was at my aunt's house, and we were eating a lot of wheat. So we're like, okay, maybe it's the wheat. Oh, this is still 2011 actually. We went back to the doctor because it wasn't working, and he's like, okay, we'll do some tests. So they checked if for like gluten allergy, see if I had celiacs, and they checked my iron, and my iron was low, which is why I was tired. And then it wasn't the gluten; it came back negative. It said it was false negative. So I went off of gluten for like a week or two, and it didn't work. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna eat whatever again, because no matter what I eat, it's gonna cause me pain anyway. So I did that, and after the gluten didn't work, I just kept trying to do what I could to be okay, and like I said, it was back and forth. I was okay, I wasn't okay, I was okay, I wasn't okay. So it was really just a mess. And then I go to my aunt's house at the end of June, beginning of July of 2012, because she had my little cousin, and I was just helping her around the house in case she would go into labor before, like during the night, and something happened with my other little cousin. So I was there, and we ate a lot of wheat there because she eats really healthy and organic and everything. I'm like, okay, we'll try this. And it just got worse. And the pains were so intense. I'd cry and like wouldn't want to move. I'd just lay around all day. And she felt really bad. So I was there. I called the GI doctor that I wanted to go see, because my parents wouldn't really let me go it in the first place because they thought it was the gluten, and it really wasn't. And so we did that, and I couldn't get in until October. So when October rolled around, it was just unbearable at that point. So I was like, I need to find out what's wrong. So I go in and I tell him all my symptoms, and he said it could be ulcerative colitis. I was like, okay, my uncle has that. It could be genetic. And I go 2 days later, or like a week later or so, and I get the colonoscopy done. And with the colonoscopy, I had to drink the prep, which was probably the worst thing out of it, because I was knocked out for the actual, like, colonoscopy part. And after that, I wake up and he's like, you have Crohn's disease. And I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know what that is. He pretty much throws me all my papers and all these pamphlets about Crohn's disease, telling me what to do. Gives me Pantasa and Entacort. Gives me iron, folic acid, an antidepressant, and thiacycamine, and the dissolving ones that go under my tongue instead of the swollen ones I had before. So I was on all these pills, and I had to sort them out, and I got this huge pill case, and I felt like a drug addict. So if I didn't take the pills, I'd be in pain. And so I'm like, okay, maybe this will be alright. So I started taking the meds, and they started working. Steroids, the Entacort steroids were good, except once the dose got lower, I began to have really bad pain again. I'm like, okay, this isn't good. So I called my GI again, and I told him that it wasn't working, and he gave me prednisone. And with the prednisone, it helped a lot. And by the time those steroids got low again, I was in pain and miserable again. So it would help, and then I'd eat like normal, like the stuff I'm allowed to eat, and it just didn't help. So we talked about going on Humira for me, and we did that. So I got another round of prednisone, and then I started Humira in January of 2013, and I've been on Humira since the 25th of January. And it's been working pretty well. I got off the prednisone after that and didn't have any complications, like didn't have any pains or anything afterwards, except when I ate Chinese. So that can't eat Chinese anymore, so that kind of sucks. But I've been taking the Pantasa still, and all my supplements, and Humira. I just got my Humira shot yesterday, and it's been really scary. The first two I did on my own, because you had to get them in 4, and then 2, and then 1 after that for every 2 weeks. So I got the 4, and I did the 2 first ones on my own, and then it was good. And then I got really blacked out at the doctor's office, and I had to lay down. So the nurses did the next 2. And then the next week 2 weeks later I did 2. The first one went fine. The second one, it bubbled up a little bit, so I got really scared and I didn't get all the fluid. I'm like, okay. 2 weeks later, I go to do it, and I had a mental breakdown. So my boyfriend gave it to me, and I'm like, alright, this is alright. So yesterday when I went to go do it, I was like, I got this, and then I'm like, can't do it. So my boyfriend did that one again, and now I feel good, and the Humira is helping. My iron's good, I'm not sleeping as much, I'm not depressed anymore. If you have any questions or anything, just let me know. Alright, thanks.